All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Knowledge Commons, where we discuss all things around the commons and the digital embodiment of it. We'd like to welcome our guest, Tammy Lee. Hey, Tammy.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about the intersection of the arts and semantics, which is, I admit, a fairly new topic for me. So I'm all ears today. For those people that don't know you, you actually sit at the intersection in LinkedIn of semantics and the arts, which is you're getting a lot of attention. You're garnering a lot of thought process and a lot of thinkers in this space. But for those who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the why of what you do?
Um, so I think I'm not a usual person that ends up working in knowledge graph and metadata infrastructure or semantic technology. I'm a co-founder of a semantic technology company in Canada, and I came to it as a career arts manager, working for more than 30 years in the performing arts and in visual arts as well, contemporary art. Uh, in dance, theater, and contemporary art in Canada. And I was confronted with an issue of how to bring technology to the performing arts world. It is a really old school type of world. There's no optimization to be had. If you're going to perform a symphony orchestra, a piece of work, an orchestral work, and it requires 80 musicians in the orchestra, there's no getting around cutting 80 musicians out of the orchestra. And you're performing it live to people. So the format hasn't changed in 150 years. Um, so I took it upon myself at the age of 45 to quit an institutional job that allowed me to go see the Venice Biennale every 2 years. I was in that job for a decade, to check everything, stress out my family, and decide to build a semantic technology company because I really wanted to figure out, how do I bring technology to the arts and culture sector? How do we take advantage of the internet? We are not taking advantage of the internet. We're struggling. I grew up in the days when arts organizations said, do I need a website? I remember those days. Do I really need SEO? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So I wanted to learn about the 21st century a little bit more. And I started the company in 2015. That's
So
not the normal pathway. It's just
no, and you mentioned before that you yourself were a performer. Um,
no,
no,
I was not a performer. I wanted to no. So I was at arts. No, I'm the arts manager.
yeah,
So
okay.
in high school, I produced the high school variety show. I'm one of those.
Oh, I love that. Okay,
And I continued and I didn't stop.
yeah, yeah. So in a way, the orchestration, it's interesting that that led you into this. And so how did you then form your company? How did you get the funding?
So I was very fortunate to be working at an institution, at a private institution. So a private foundation that sort of padded my departure when I left the foundation, that gave me the financial ability to be able to start my company. So I know that a lot of people don't have that option, but also, when you work in the arts, I was motivated by supporting the creative process. I'm motivated by the big picture. So at 45 years old, I knew that I had one kick at a can and another really big project. And I had to start at 45. Like, if I waited too long, I would not be able to do it. I would be like, I'm going to be stuck here. I'm going to be in this institution for a long time. It's very cushy. It's really cushy to be at this private foundation. I'm traveling to Italy every 2 years. It's great. I travel around the world to go see art. Awesome. Um, so I quit, and that I just wanted one more kick at the can at a big idea.
Yeah. I think it's pretty spectacular and sort of entering into that world or that aspect of the art. So Tell us a little bit about, we haven't even really announced the name of your company.
Oh, my company is called Culture Creates. I totally forgot. So I'm the co-founder, CEO and co-founder of a company called Culture Creates. I am not the technical person. I have a CTO and a COO. They both from, media, entertainment, high tech worlds. I play the role of the domain expert and the non-technical person, and how they have to translate everything to me so I can translate it back out to regular people.
Yeah, and that's a pretty normal thing within organizations to begin with, sort of the divide between technical that we're seeing narrow now because of AI, but definitely bridging the open world or real world with technical systems. So with Culture Creates, then, can you tell us a little bit about who your customers are and who you serve?
So we're very fortunate. So who we serve is the Canadian arts sector.
Okay.
And we were able for the last decade to actually work with nonprofit arts organizations to be financed through grants to be able to serve the Canadian arts sector. So we don't have clients per se in the normal idea of a market product market fit. We don't have that. We were really purpose led, and we were sheltered because we were able to build these partnerships with these nonprofit organizations in the art sector, whether they be art service organizations or theater companies. It's been a mix of both. We were able for the last decade serve a larger purpose, and I'm very grateful for that we had that ability to do that. So we were sheltered from market logic. So we got to build metadata infrastructure or knowledge graph infrastructure. We were able to keep it linked open data infrastructure for the art sector.
Mm-hmm.
It really sheltered. That may be coming into an end soon. We can't do this forever, but we were very, I'm very grateful that we had that 10 years to sort of figure it out step by step and have the time, to start from zero, actually start from nothing with zero knowledge, and just do the R&D and work with art stakeholders hand in hand, practice on them, meet with everybody. And because I'm from that world, getting the stakeholders at a federal level or a national level, we were able to do that. We're older co-founders, right? We're older founders.
That was a beautiful thing you said, before the show we were discussing, and I think it's really important for the audience that we make clear the distinction is that Tammy is coming from the arts world in Canada, and the landscape for funding of cultural heritage projects such as Tammy's and Culture Creates is very different than in the United States.
Yes. So at the time, in the last decade, the Canadian government made a concerted effort to really invest in the digital transformation of the art sector. So it's like if the National Endowment of the Arts received $380 million to invest in the digital transformation of ballet, theater, dance. So that's very unique. And at the time, Canada was one of the only governments investing heavily like that. I think there are a few others. I think France does. Australia, there's been some things, some projects. So we were really lucky to take advantage of that. It's a tough thing to do. It's not perfect. You're working with stakeholders that have no idea what it is to digitally transform. So even with that investment that's directed at the art sector, you suffer from you're asking the wrong people the wrong questions. So there's been a lot of ups and downs, and perhaps projects that shouldn't have got funded, but certainly for us it was a great opportunity to actually dig down into knowledge graphs and semantic technology in 2016. So those are early days to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Tammy, do you find that building a company such as yours in presumably an open infrastructure environment, do you find that mutually exclusive to a startup environment? Or do you think there's a pathway in which startups can build these open, inclusive environments and still, achieve their goals of being, persisting their existence, essentially?
No, no, not in the world that we live in today. No.
What do you think it'll take to make that happen if you were dreaming out loud?
I think there is a urgent need for governments to build public metadata infrastructure, because we are, okay, I'm going to just say it right out. We're entering into a world where large language models are capturing the majority of human knowledge, right? So large language models are capturing vast amounts of human knowledge. Let me get this right in my head. They're capturing it, they're reformatting it, and they're redistributing it via the LLMs, whether it be Gemini, Claude AI, ChatGPT, whatever. It's seductive and it sounds so truthful, right? But the data, those LLMs, where does that data come from? So it's scraped off the web, where the data on the web is they're using commercially prioritized data. So that data is not neutral. So the data is not neutral, the capture is not neutral, the reformatting of the data that they've captured is not neutral, and the redistribution is not neutral. And those systems don't reflect human knowledge. So they're reshaping data and then serving it back to us we believe it's true. But this information has gone through this whole process that we're not even aware about. And the large language models are not traceable. I don't know where they come from. It's like a black box, like where did this data come from? And when you really dive down to what a large language model is, it's not even a knowledge graph. Knowledge graphs, like you assign meaning to a piece of data and you explicitly assign meaning to another piece of data and explicitly assign the relationship between the two pieces of data. There's provenance, you can track it, you can go to the source. Large language models, it's just like, we don't know where this data is coming from. What is this data? It's commercially sourced data. It's commercially prioritized data. So culture, from the performing arts, I'm from the arts, I deeply believe the importance of arts in my life as a human being. So culture, generalized culture, pop culture, whatever we want to call culture, it becomes second generation output of
But I will say,
commercial data. That's what I believe.
But do you see an opportunity there to flip the script in terms? Yes, that's what I wanted to.
Yes, but we don't. So the whole AI focus is all focused on the output, nothing on the input. So this is, I think, where you frame a problem, the aperture through which you look at something, work from, decide as your starting point, really determines the outcomes and the solutions you're going to create. Mm-hmm. So we've been really focused on agentic AI, so much of the hype. And when you really understand what large language models, I don't know it technically, but the way I understand what a LLM is, it's like a heat map. It can't even tell you the truth. It's like it's a master pattern recognizer. So it can't get to the truth for you. It could get to sort of like a, hotter, warmer. This is where I ask it a question, and it's going to look in the vast patterns that it has and go, oh, I think the answer is in this location. They're excellent at pattern recognition. But when you fully understand that, it's like, do I trust LLMs? I'm not so sure. So I think it's incumbent on governments and people who want to have maybe some form of truth, governments need to be building public metadata infrastructure, even starting with something simple as people, places, organization, events. It's powerful. That's civic information. That's public information. Today, the most comprehensive sort of database of public information is in private hands.
Are you referring to the
Whoever,
Getty or
whoever, just in general? Let's just keep it in my world. Let's just keep it in my world at performing arts.
Yep.
Well, Google has every single cultural event happening in Canada right now. Right now, they can pull out that list like this. They have it. They've scraped the web. They have it. I don't know how they scraped the web, but they have it. So for building public infrastructure and building the tools that everyday people can use means they can actually participate in describing themselves to these systems that we're going to rely on. Like
it's democratizing semantics.
It's democratizing semantics. The cat's out of the bag. We're using AI. If we can't put it back in the bag, for better or for worse, right? But if we don't actually build public metadata infrastructures, we think they're going to churn that information up and serve us back secondhand information that's, I don't know on what priority it's based. Right.
So if Andrew or I wanted to use the CMS, the Footlight Culture Creates CMS, can you walk us through the process and what is involved?
It's a CMS. So it's like a regular CMS that really, and we're focused on events for the performing arts. So people enter their events into the CMS, and the classes of information that we have are events, people, organizations, and places. So they can have the title, the date, time, location, description, image, taken link, social media links, a video if they wanted, really basic information. And then they can link that event to a performer, and then link that to a place, and then link that eventually to a work. Mm-hmm. So this is just really basic information. And when they put that in, they can publish on their website. In fact, Canada, I don't think they realize it, but Global Affairs Canada and Destination Canada, we work with the National Arts Centre here in Canada. So it's like your Kennedy Centre in DC. So we have our own National Arts Centre in Ottawa. So they've used our technology to publish the performances at the Canadian Pavilion that's happening in the World Fair in Osaka right now.
Okay.
I don't think Global Affairs Canada knows that they're using this technology, but they are using this technology for their Canadian Pavilion. So that gets published online. It's structured with the appropriate JSON-LD. Nobody has to break their heads to figure out how to do that. And web service providers, people who build your website, they don't know how to do that. It is a very specific sort of specialty, and they don't we're going to add JSON-LD as an afterthought, and they really do it wrong.
So really pragmatic question. Is it an export of, say that I go into Culture Creates and a
widget. So you have a choice. So there's multiple ways to put data into Footlight CMS. Manual entry, scrape, you can pull from arts data, you can do a bulk upload, multiple ways, the normal ways that you can add data into a database. And then you can have an open API. We have a regular RESTful API. If you want your web team to query it and pull out information and to display, you could do that. Or we also have multiple widgets that you can just pop into a website, and there's a display and a couple of choices of how you want that to look. And eventually what we'd like to work on is like a vanilla, what we call, this is not a technical term, this is why I'm talking, and it's not the CEO or the CTO talking. Remember, this is me talking, the non-technical person. We want to build a vanilla front end. So people who don't know how to even put up a website, which is a lot of people in the art sector, if you're a small dance company or a choreographer or a theater director or artist, asking them to build a website is really difficult. So we want to lower that barrier as much as possible. So we want to create a vanilla front end. So they just, it publishes and it's done. But today we have an API and we have these widgets. The Canadian Pavilion in Japan is using the widget.
Got it. Okay.
So you are,
yeah. Oh, yes.
You are lowering the barrier to to publication of cultural events, which in effect is like everybody's piece of truth. And that's how people
Yes.
take ownership back. And that's the comments in your world.
That's the comments that people get, because how do you, okay, I don't trust an LLM is going to tag an Indigenous performance for that Indigenous artist. It doesn't make them money to tag that this is an Indigenous event for them. So you bring it down to the hands of the people that it actually impacts, so they can have their own truth. We need to have truth somewhere. And it shocked me to realize that LLMs are not truth, because they're probability machines that look at patterns. So they just give us back patterns and probabilities, not truth. But that a knowledge graph and semantic technology is an elegant technology that actually can give you traceability and provenance, right? At least you can fix it. So, that little small Indigenous dance company or contemporary theater, whatever it is, they have no way of fixing what happens to them in Google's knowledge graph. They can see the mistakes, and there are a lot of mistakes, but they have no access to fix it. So building a public metadata infrastructure or knowledge graph and providing the tools for the public to be able to say, this is, if you're a small business, say my truth about myself and have it in a government public infrastructure. It's like the technology exists. It's not hard to do this. It's just political will. That's a way of making sure that we can have access to describe ourselves. Because so when I meet a government person who's going to make a decision, I go, when you Google what is Canada, where would you like the answer to come from? Google or Canada?
Canadians.
So that's what's confronting everybody, whether they realize it or not. And sort of that AI sort of hype, they're so focused on the content end, the agents, what they can do. Nobody's thinking about the model, the structure of the actual model, or not enough. Not in terms that are not in terms that people should actually, I think, be slightly shocked at.
Well, it is like the new shiny toy, and I will insert for myself, it's not too different or disparate from charlatans in the performing arts or like in theater, where we've had and carnivals where we've been wooed by this sort of magical thinking, and there's always the hard reality behind that magical thing.
Yes. So we went down this road before with social media, right? And social media, because they control what people can see. It's not the content. The importance is not the content. They control what people can see, and that algorithm that puts the right information in front of you at a certain time hasn't had good outcomes for society. So, when you attach those social media platforms that are attached to market logic and shareholder wealth, the outcomes for society haven't been that great. So, we're doing this again, but I think this is a little bit more insidious and a little bit more scary. That shiny new object can really impact what we know about ourselves. Because I'm using AI, it's like I want to use AI. It's a shiny toy. I like the shiny toy. I'm not against technology, but I think we need to have a grounding in truth somewhere. So, or we're just giving up our ability to make meaning for ourselves to a machine that we just have no machine made by a company. So somewhere, we need to have agency of our own meaning making somewhere. And I think governments are talking about it. People are figuring it out. People are afraid of AI. But I think this giving the tools so people that can actually define themselves and have agency to how to describe themselves on the web or to machines, it mitigates sort of the knowledge concentration risk.
Mhm.
Knowledge concentration risk in an LLM owned by a private company. And if governments don't do this, they're locked out of knowledge to people, in many ways.
Yeah.
So that's what that motivates me.
Yeah.
And so clearly we're not in it for the money. We're not.
I mean, is anyone in arts for the money though? Yeah.
No, but now I have a semantic technology company, and clearly we're not in it for the money either in the semantic tech.
Right.
I think it's pressing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why I've been writing those articles. I've been trying to get the attention of the Canadian government. I have not been able to.
You haven't been able to.
Getting everybody else's attention. It's really good. Even someone from the US that's a former, that used to be on the National Security Council, who's now a non-resident fellow at the Atlantic House, which is a huge think tank, reached out. Not the Canadian government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you think that, I'm really curious to know how you think that culture and cultural repositories in the arts can contribute to AI, if there were a dream world or a meaningful situation. Yeah.
I think there's a beautiful poetic irony that this type of system was created in the art sector.
Yes.
So that the art sector shows, the government and other ministries, we have a ministry of AI and digital innovation. We have an economic ministry. We have, Treasuries Canada. We all have these sort of that the art sector is showing others, this is how we can mitigate against AI concentration, by actually distributing semantic capabilities to the everyday person. Because that democratizes information on the internet, and distributes more opportunities available on the internet to more people at the same time, and kind of lowers the risks. And also, I think the return on investment is upstream, because also now if you give the tools to everyday people, organizations, cities, civic information, to be able to define themselves in very simple ways, like what my organization is, who am I, what do we do, what events do we have, and what programs do we have. You create this sort of, let's say in 3 to 5 years, just people, places, organizations, and events. Then you'll have this sort of infrastructure of information on which small, medium enterprises can innovate on top of. Like, how many times have I heard, and I'm going back 10 years, we're going to build, AI is the latest thing, we're going to build a recommendation system. Good luck. Where are you getting the data? You're recommending what? So in those early days, a decade ago, people wanted to build recommenders. Then they realized the mountain of data that they would have to collect, and where would they get it? And it's all disparate and siloed. So I think cities, organizations, countries, if it's not a country, it could be a city, it would serve them well to build public metadata infrastructure on really basic information as a starting point. I think the return on investment in that and the economic sort of potential it could unlock, it's like just infrastructure economics, right?
Do you have any examples of anyone in the world, any governments that are doing this well?
No. Nobody is doing this. So this is an uphill battle. And I think the reason why, so it was a very unique set of circumstances allowed us to do this. I mean, going back to Andrew's question, do you think a market, like you'd ask me, I don't remember if you'd ask me that question, like, could we have built a linked open data infrastructure in a market system with market logic if we were just a regular startup with, no. So I think we had a very unique set of circumstances. Started the company in 2015. In 2016, Who makes a choice to build knowledge graphs in 2016 and decide to work in semantic technology? That was then, because we had that situation in Canada, they had these digital strategy funds and strategic innovation programs, which was brand new in 2019, that sheltered us for a decade. So no, because we were, in the beginning, we were part of a regular startup incubator, where essentially I just got yelled at how dumb my idea was for the entire time, and I had to pitch. And now, so I have sort of now I'm really I feel ill when someone asks me I need to pitch in 30 seconds or less, because I'm motivated by the big picture. So this is not stuff that is pitchable. This is stuff that is we need to have the ability to make meaning for ourselves to machines. Right? We just need to have that. If not, we're giving it up to machines to do it for ourselves. And I think we become less than if we allow that to happen. And
go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just thinking, as you're saying all this, like you came from arts and culture space, and historically, my understanding is that, arts have always defined culture, influenced culture. Yes. And here you are doing this battle, but instead of influencing the populace generally, as has been done in the past, your goal now seems to be to use this method that you've created to influence a machine as the intermediary to delivering culture, which is inevitable. I find that fascinating. I don't know if you see it that way, but
it's the poetic that the art sector is like, art makes meaning about how we experience life, performing arts or any art or literature or whatever, music in its way. And that meaning making comes from the art sector is poetic. That this project arises from the art sector is poetic. Now, there's a couple of other things. So part of the unique set of circumstances, and I did not know this about myself, is I'm not technical, as you know. I really have a background in contemporary dance. As a producer of shows or an agent or a curator or a presenter, if you just looked at my paper resume, I should be working as the dance producer at the National Arts Center or at the Kennedy Center. That would be on paper what my job is. And when I first started doing this, I had a few tech startup coaches, and they go, "Nothing here proves to me that you know what you're doing." Another little thing, in 2016, we showed semantic technology. The funding came from grants. That's just unheard of in the startup sector. I know, because we're so niche, we're able to leverage that. So that's very special. It's hard to reproduce. And then as taking this role on, I realized, I'm a systems thinker. I never needed to use the systems thinking when I worked as a tour director for a ballet company.
Although I would argue that dance and choreography and production is very much systems thinking.
Sure, but as a tour, it's like it's not. So I knew that I had this sort of big picture thinking style, just not needed in the job that I was doing. It just wasn't. So it required other types of intelligence, aesthetic or a real understanding of what I was seeing, but it didn't need my big picture ability. I knew it was always there, but it was not needed for many years. I was motivated by other things. So I was able to see that. And I think a lot of good startup co-founders or tech co-founders need to have the ability to see a big picture. So they get those things, or a systems way of thinking, so the way I explain that is like, you give me pieces of a puzzle, pieces of whatever system, and I'm going to target it on the one that leverage. So metadata is like a low cost leverage. It's affordable. Creating metadata infrastructure is affordable. And I think in the sort of AI world that we're racing into, it's like one of the only leverage points I think governments have, society has.
It speaks to the foundation of things. I think that's really what sticks out to me, is like that's a uniform message across the entire industry, technology industry. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it's ever present and true and affordable and accessible.
Yes, and I think the people in the knowledge community, like Jessica and Andrew, you guys understand this. You see this, you understand this, but let's say in the companies that you work in, that this building a public metadata infrastructure might not be possible. The right conditions to be able to do that don't happen all that often. So I really take that on as a responsibility that Culture Creates was able to have this moment to be able to do that in this very unique set of circumstances. So now today, I want to keep on doing public metadata infrastructure for as long as the company can. Our goal is to really double down hard and push for that. We may not survive as a company. We may have to pivot. We may have to succumb and be more commercial. Because I know that the skills that we had, we can do enterprise knowledge graphs. It's not our interest. But I know that we have a certain set of skills that we've acquired by working on the ground, by operationalizing knowledge graphs, by going, oh, we need to build a bridge because the person that we work with, they don't know how to use the Sparkle endpoint. That's just like, even the technical people that we talk to, don't know how to use the Sparkle endpoint. It's not a RESTful API or a regular API. No, we don't code in Python. No. So we had to build those bridges. Like we had to think, oh, that person in that office wants to use this, but they can't do it. So we have to build the tool that they understand. And a lot of it is manual entry. Some of them know how to do bulk upload, and some of them know how to, oh no, I can get a feed, I can do this, and then I can publish it. Thank you. And they feel good because they know it goes into a shared commons. Right.
And so do you store, like in terms of, I mean, the shared commons, just to clarify for everyone, the shared commons being
arts data. Right. Is knowledge graph. So it's a link.
You store it all in your own knowledge graph as well.
So arts data. So on top of that, this is unique. Yes. So arts data does not belong to Culture Creates. It's really part of the arts community. So it is stewarded by a volunteer group of arts organizations. So there are pluses and minuses to working in the not-for-profit sector and getting this grant money. I'm fine that arts data is not part of Culture Creates. We are a for-profit company. It is not owned by us. It is really something for the arts sector, stewarded by them. But it is stewarded by arts organizations because that's what the funding dictates. So they are responsible and accountable for semantic technology of which they know nothing about. So there's pluses and minuses to this. So we're actually we've created a proof of concept. It works. It's not completely true because up till recently, I have been getting in the attention of the Canadian government. So I have meetings with people in government to see, like, is this part of Canada's digital future? I think it should be part of Canada's digital future. If you talk about data sovereignty and you think data sovereignty is just data privacy, well, I think you're wrong. I think this is the layer that is like, how do you express ourselves to machine? Because it gets back to, like, when you type in whatever country name you're going to put in there, do you want the answer to come from a commercial platform or from the people and organizations, artists from your own country? I think it's going to be the second half of that answer, right? And really, I think this is the leverage point for cities, governments, and communities to regain agency for themselves. Because we have very little in that LLM world, AI world that's arrived and here. And we're just focused on the wrong things. Our aperture of how to look, of what's happening and coming I don't think is in the right place. That's my opinion. We're focused on, oh my God, what is that agentic AI going to do for me? I'm going to work. I'm going to be 30% more productive. I'll be able to let go a third of my staff because I won't need them to talk to my customers. I mean, it's fine. I'm not against that, but that there are other accuracy, representation, and sovereignty get tossed out of the window. Right? Accuracy is a big thing.
Do you have any success stories to share? Like any people or groups that you've worked with?
Well, so it's being used. Footlight CMS and arts data is being used. It's being used by several arts organizations across the country. And it's feeding into the province of Quebec is using arts data. It's not the only thing it's using, but it's pulling out of arts data events in Quebec and putting it on their website. The National Arts Center, they were tasked to produce the shows at the Canadian Pavilion in Japan. So they used the CMS technology to publish their events in Japan, and it gets shared back to arts data. So there's also regional arts organizations and arts councils that are publishing their listings and getting people to put their events in, and they're doing it in multiple of ways. Some of them are doing manual entries, some of them are scraping, some of them are pulling it from arts data, and it's just easier for them, and they feel good about using it because they know it's added to a shared commons or to arts, the open knowledge graph. So it goes in, someone can pull it out, they add something to it, it goes back in. So with each use, more and more information gets added, it becomes better through use. So the proof of concept is there's like several arts organizations across the country that are using it for their cultural listings. And they're also using it for, they're also using it for their memberships. They're also using it for listing of theaters. They're also using for listing, these are our artists that are part of our stable. So there's also a couple of tourism boards using it. I was almost forgot. There are a couple of tourism boards using it for their events and their organizations. And it's really transferable because people, places, and organizations and events, organizations could be for a tourism board, could be a listing of hotels, restaurants, stores, shops, arenas. They're listing hockey games, farmers markets, whatever it is, that public civic information. So that this infrastructure, this framework could be used by other sectors. In the arts, because that's where I come from, I started the company, I know the arts, my relationships are in the arts. I can get the National Arts Center on the phone. I can get the Canada Council for the Arts on the phone and the Provincial Arts Council. Like I can't, you plot me into another industry, it's going to just be a little bit more of an uphill battle. It started in the arts because that's where I'm from. And I started the company. So the CTO who joined me, he also likes the arts as well. So he's very tight. He's not from the arts, but he also loves it. So there's a lovely story for our CTO. So the National Arts Center in Ottawa, there's a place called Southam Hall. Southam Hall is the name of a family. And he knew as a young lad, Mr. Southam, he's an electrical engineer. And Mr. Southam, who this big theater is named after, told my CTO when he was a young adult and just coming out of engineering school, the arts is going to need you one day. So he was able to go full circle, and we work with the National Arts Center. So it's sort of like really lovely that he gets to do this. But he comes from a pure engineering background. Sorry, Andrew, I cut you off.
No. I was curious, have you found, like you said, it's challenging to sell the concept to, people that would fund this, but given that you're providing a voice to people who make these postings, basically lowering the barrier to publication, do you find evidence in the LLMs that are publicly available of a richer response for your domain in Canada versus, say, the United States or elsewhere, where there's evidence that, that voice is being propagated through the LLMs and richer responses?
Well, we're proof of concept. It's too early. We're too small.
Okay.
we're way too small. So our usage is making it easier for the data provider and the data user. Because, so let's say for the listing for the Quebec government, they do it for the entire province. In the past, they had to manually enter everything. So our proof point really is small. It's like we're talking, I don't know, I don't know how many events there are in Art State. I have to look it up. I really don't know now. 10,000? I don't know. That's tiny. That's just nothing.
Oh.
So we have, it's across several provinces, but I mean, we're a country of 40 million people. The entire country for the cultural sector, our data is nothing. So no, I can't. No, I think we're too small. I think there's a better ranking in Google on an individual level. It makes our lives easier. They don't have to think about, I have to do what now? I have to structure my event information so Google can find it. But how do I do that? You have to get into the back end of your website. But I don't even know how to do that. So we're really on the ground operationalizing the value to the user, and making it easy for regional arts councils and tourism boards in a region to show events without having, in the past, which passes like just last year, trying to convince everyone, oh, can you enter it manually by yourselves into our listing so we can promote you? I mean, this is the gap we're trying to bridge here into the 21st century into LLMs and the AI world. That's their starting point. So and I think that's the starting point of a lot of small, medium businesses as well. Mm-hmm. So for us is here's our proof point. This works. People are using it. Now, if you gave this sort of framework to every single chamber of commerce across the country, every single chamber of commerce across North America, then you start getting into valuable sort of data set. But, listing of a theater company, shows and dance works and orchestras and some concerts and a comedy show and circus, and no, I can't say, honestly, no, I can't say that there's an impact. But if Canada did do that, created sort of then I think you need a national scale. You need a scale. We have not hit that tipping point yet. No.
Do you, though, notice things from LLMs that are, where you see patterns of inaccuracy or inability to? Yeah.
Yes, in the early days, yes. So, in the early days, we would ask it like, there's a choreographer here named Marie Chouinard. And it would tell me that Marie Chouinard was a ballet dancer at Le Grand Ballet Canadien. She never was. And the reason why I know that, because I worked at both Le Grand Ballet Canadien and her dance company Marie Chouinard. So it's like, oh, where did they get, like, I don't even know, where did they get this? So yes, it sort of makes up information about people and what they do in their past, because it just confuses things. It's not, Le Grand got mentioned next to Marie Chouinard somewhere. So, oh, she's a dancer. Probably she was a dancer at Le Grand Ballet Canada. So they put it in there in her bio.
Apparently I was like a gun instructor in Texas.
There we go.
So yeah, I've never had any association with that.
Large language models are probability machines, and they go, oh, am I getting warmer? Am I getting warmer? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Jessica, oh, there's gun. Oh, there we go. She's a gun enthusiast. Yes. Oh, instructor. Oh, wait. Yeah, we'll just put it all together. The probability of that is very high, so let's stick it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. I don't think a lot of people really realize that's how an LLM works.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what that really means structurally, if it works that way. It's pattern recognition and probability. It's great. It's useful. Don't get me wrong. I'm using it. But I also understand its limitations, where knowledge graph and semantic technology can it's all relative. can give a modicum of truth, right? Because even truth in my own mind is not truth, right? So, I mean, that's why I'm saying it's relative. Let's not get too philosophical. I'm getting too philosophical about it, but a knowledge graph can give, you can assign meaning to a piece of data.
Yes.
We can assign meanings that this is a place that's located at this address and be 100% sure. And if there is a mistake, it's fixable.
Mm-hmm.
Or LLM, I don't know how to fix that. Right.
So if you were, I mean, I actually have another question about knowledge graphs, and I am just opening this up as a general, is that there are some pretty well recognized spaces that, the Getty, for example, the Getty has a knowledge graph.
Yeah.
Does Culture Creates interoperate or have any other relationships with any other knowledge graphs in the commons or in the space?
Yes, we interoperate with Wikidata.
Okay.
We can interoperate with whether we do or not. I think there are tests to do. This is where I break down. But I know for sure we interoperate with Wikidata. 100%. I think we interoperate with other systems.
Yeah.
This is
No,
terrible.
that's fine. I mean, it's like not all of our
yeah. Cheer for we need semantic, infrastructure for our country, but I can't, but we do interoperate. I mean, it's interoperable. So any system. So we interoperate with Wikidata. The provincial listing system here in Quebec interoperates with Ars Data by pulling stuff out. We interoperate. There's a data commons here in the province of Quebec. We push data to it. We interoperate with that. We can push and pull. So yes, it's interoperable. You can interoperate with anything, any app. So we are very influenced by the data-centric manifesto. So, written by Dave McComb from Semantic Arts. It was in the early days, it was sort of like we read it and we went, oh my God, this is what we should be doing. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no. And I'm just curious about the sort of linking or if there's any sharing of data across.
It's open. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's open. So people come and use it without us even knowing. There are other people, I think there's a tourism board in Outaouais, which is a region of Quebec. They just grab the information they want and stick it on their website. We don't even need to know. They do that. Like, this is not precious data. This is public information, right? Like how many people want to pull cultural events are happening in the Outaouais region, really? So we're not, it's not transactional data.
Grab, and it's not monetized.
No, exactly.
And I think, Andrew, I don't know if you agree, but defining the knowledge commons, if all three of us were to define what the knowledge commons were together, I think those are some important characteristics, is that it's not, yes.
That, and I'm not sure our answers are the same, right?
Yeah.
Right.
How would you define knowledge commons?
I think linked open data.
I'm a big fan, so.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that what I interpreted as your special sauce was the first and last mile, and the first mile is the usability or the true accessibility to your average person.
Yes.
And the engine behind that is the semantics of it, which
yes.
otherwise it would not be able to interact with.
Yes.
So can you describe a bit how you came across like those two components? Because mostly what I've found is that folks that build systems focus on one or the other. And especially in the semantic space, they say, we have everything's available, but it's not really accessible. It's just available. Like, people don't understand it's too cerebral. So there's the other camp and people who build nice apps are easy to use that have the veneer as you speak of, but it's not exactly underneath the hood. It's a little messy. So you found a nice kind of balance between the two. Can you speak a little bit about like how you came upon that to make semantics accessible.
So by doing the work, right? Because we were able to sort of hide away in a corner for several years and do this work, we built under the hood. We built the knowledge graph. Ta-da! Wonderful. We presented to the art sector, and it's like, they have no way of using it. They have absolutely no way of using it. So we had to figure out a way, and this is through hard work. This is through like doing trial and error and making bad decisions and then backtracking and making another bad decision and then backtracking, making another bad decision and then backtracking. So through just trying things. And then we realized they need to see the full loop. Nobody's understand. So we started building knowledge graphs in the day where, what's a knowledge graph? The Google's knowledge graph wasn't really talked about yet. So we knew that we needed to show a full loop, particularly to a sector that has just zero understanding about technology and just confuses everything together. So we needed to show a full loop, and so we had the middle. So we needed the first and last mile, and that's how we termed it, our first and last mile. We need to show everyone a full loop, and it took us a long time to be able to get the money together to be able to show the full loop, to build Footlight CMS, and then to have a widget, to have an API, and then a widget. So the vision is so people can start using Footlight CMS immediately and have it traverse arts data, and then have something published on the web. We're not all the way there yet. So we have this proof of concept because we wanted to show the full loop. And when we were doing it, we realized a lot of people do have these linked open data projects. I did not really understand this. Either people are super technical, super academic, or they know nothing, right? And that's the Canada Council for the Arts. Those are the people who are funding these projects. They're not academic, they're not technical, so they know nothing. So culture creates, this is one of your questions was the convergence of technology, culture, and sort of the knowledge commons. So we are an embodiment of that inside the company. I know nothing. Right? No, nothing. And we have a CTO and a COO. Because I have big picture thinking, I'm able to see, okay, this is how all these threads can come together. So it's really by always like, how can this be useful? How can people use this? How do we operationalize this? It could create a linked open data sort of infrastructure, but then you have this Sparkle endpoint, like. So in Canada, what does that mean? In Quebec, what does that mean? In the province of Quebec, that means Gregory can use it. Who's my CTO? Gregory can use it. And maybe two other people. It's just sort of, we were focused on how do we bring technology to the art sector? So that motivation means how do we make it useful to people who don't know anything about technology? I want to drive a car. I do not know how to build an engine. So why do they need to understand semantics, technology, and break their heads to figure out what you do, Jessica, working in library sciences? So we put that under the hood.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be useful to everyday people.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody thought like that, but because we weren't pressured by market logic and to build a product, we were able to explore these ideas you're asking me about, Andrew. Really, we were sheltered. So we got to go, okay, how we could focus on purpose, right? So how do we make it useful? Because we talked to hundreds of arts organizations, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what we're doing. Why should I be interested in this? We did in the beginning try to get arts organizations to put structured data in the back end of their websites. That's a lot of hand-holding. That's high, it's really high investment, one by one hand-holding a small little dance company, small little theater, even the National Arts Center. We work with them. how to, appropriately structure their data in the back end of the website. And even we had to work with them, and they have a budget of $80 million a year, right? So it's like they can't get it right. If they can't get it right, how is the regular ballet company, orchestra, or dance company or troupe do that, right? So we're not brilliant. We just worked really hard and made a lot of mistakes to figure out, okay, this is not working. We need to try something else. So it comes to, okay, people really need the tools. And then the realization comes after year 3, going, okay, this is really not working. People really need useful tools, usable tools. This is not going to work because it's too technical, too academic. There's nothing for the everyday person. But the market is not built to build anything for the everyday person. So now the relevance is really important. We didn't set out to be sort of like key for AI agency, an infrastructure to give back agency in sort of a machine dominant world. We did not think about that in 2016, but by happenstance, I think this infrastructure or this approach is critical, I think, in society today. It's kind of like, I don't know if you know, like a Minitel in France before the internet. So Minitel in France, they had a national, through their telecommunication system, a national information system, digital information system. So when I was young and visiting France and going to people's houses, they had this Minitel box, and they produced and delivered this Minitel box into millions of homes in France pre the internet. And it was like fascinating to me. You can order food, you can look up things. It was like an electronic telephone book that connected all of France together. I think it stopped sometimes in the 80s, and then the internet came along. But it was very successful, and it's too bad they did not push that a little bit more. So we need those types of infrastructures today, because I feel I don't want to be heavy-handed, but I feel an obligation to speak about this as much as possible, because I don't want secondhand information from an LLM to be surfaced back at me, to be surfaced back at my kid. I don't want people to be confused about the accuracy and representation and information that they're seeing online. It's how we get information. My kid does not visit websites. Never is going to visit a website. I'm in my 50s. I'm visiting a website. I still do links. That I understand that world. He doesn't do email. He doesn't visit websites. He's online all the time. He's going to use ChatGPT. He's going to be using AI. There needs to be some grounding in truth. Some grounding in a form of truth that we can all agree on. Because if not, I think we are lost.
Something bi-directional.
Yes. So Full Light CMS is less philosophical. I'll get back to Full Light CMS. Full Light CMS has a bi-directional link to a knowledge graph. That's the only difference. It's just a regular CMS, but that bi-directional link to a linked open data infrastructure is transformational.
Yeah. It's been fascinating, but I think we passed the top of the hour. But one closing question I have, and then Jessica, is if knowledge is interactive, and we're currently becoming quickly passive receivers of information, what do you call that?
If we're passive receivers
of
information, frightening, scary, dystopia. Okay. I'm from the performing arts. So I read Aristotle's Poetics, and he talks about, this is 2,000 years ago. So this is knowledge we've known for more than 2,000 years, that we require catharsis to integrate meaning, right? Without the collective catharsis, we don't grow. So what the world you're talking about there is like, we don't have an ability to grow at all. So we just get scrolling information. We don't know what truth is. We have no catharsis, no understanding of meaning. So we get information, it's entertaining, it passes through us, but we never get to a place where we can understand. That's a type of system we're building, a digital system, a shiny system we're building. And I think in one of the articles I compare it to Plato's cave. We're happy with the shadows. We're chained looking at the shadows, but we're good because it's AI. We're good there. So, that's frightening. There's no cohesion. There's no ability to cohere meaning. So I do feel motivated to speak about this and push as far as I can to build public metadata infrastructure as far as it can go with all the means that I have at my fingertips. Listen, I never thought. Listen, at 45 years old, I quit a cushy foundation job to do a semantic technology company. I never thought I would get this far. I thought, oh God, this is not me. It's been a decade. I have a company. We're 10 now. We were 2, 3, now 10. I never thought I would get this far. So I'm going to keep on pushing or speaking and trying to convince or shine a light on that maybe we should care about the infrastructures that we're putting in place for our future knowledge and for ourselves.
Tammy, thank you so much for joining us. This was an amazing conversation. And I think the message is super important, especially with data and knowledge commons. And if people want to get in touch with you or reach out or read any of your articles or check out Culture Creates, can you help them?
They can do it. You can do it. My name is Tammy Lee. The company is called Culture Creates. We're on LinkedIn. You can email me directly. It's Tammy@Culture Creates. It's very easy to remember. Americans know how to spell Tammy, which is great because I'm in Quebec. It's not a very common name in Quebec. So people don't know how to spell my name. It's like Tammy. It's hard, but it's hard in French. So I'm very easy to find.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. And definitely reach out to Tammy if you have more questions and visit Culture Creates. We really appreciate you being a guest.
Thank you.